Today, we're going to be talking about one singular thing. We pick a topic and we sort of dissect it in the way that we would dissect it internally, right? And we're going to focus on how to find rental properties that pay you in 2026. So the keywords here are rental properties. Rental properties are assets that essentially generate income for you through rental payments, right? If anybody is still paying rent here, you can wave your hands. Thank you very much. I'm still paying rent. So you get to understand like how everybody understands what it means to pay rent, right? However, most people have never been paid rent to. I've been paid rent to, which is lovely. It's a very interesting feeling to someone to pay you back, right? And I think it's important for most people to understand, if when they are venturing into, or even when they are sourcing out deals on the Keble platform, you want a situation whereby you're not just picking investments on vibes. You're understanding why those listings are available for you, and you're understanding how those listings or those properties will pay you back over time. Keble does the job of, legal verification, securitization, and making sure that all of those things are sorted out. And you just have to pick and choose which one suits you at the end of the day. So this session is meant to be very practical. The whole aim is for you to understand whether this project is profitable or not, and some of the things that would enable you to look at a property in a deeper lens than the average Joe in the market. I hope you're excited for this. Let me be sure that everybody's still with me. If you're still excited, thumbs up, thumbs up. Let me be sure that you guys are here. You guys can still hear me. Oh, good. Can you guys still hear me? Just checking. Thumbs up.
Yes, we can hear you. Absolutely.
Lovely, lovely. Yeah. So in 2026, more people are looking for properties that do more than just look good. They're looking at properties that actually generate income. So a lot of people are really focused on aesthetics. They are focused on things that are not generally core to how a property can generate income. And the role of this conversation is to make sure that you look beyond the veil of the aesthetics. You try to understand what are the fundamentals there, and that would enable you to actually build a portfolio that stands the test of time, right? Now, here are the core things and we'll look at a lot of areas. We have on the platform, we have mainland, I think 2 mainland offerings, and we have, 2 island offerings, and they all perform differently. So when you're thinking of rent, most people don't really, on the platform right now, you can even check rental prices or rental growth, both in sales, short-let prices, and normal rent for the last 5 years. So if you go to the platform, the new update allows you to check, okay, for a property like Bradford, right? What's the percentage growth in the last 5 years looking like? How has that growth materialized over time? So you're able to understand, the growth of these assets. And this is just a snapshot of, just a 2 years growth, right? In terms of rental, right, you're seeing that Lekki Phase 1, so a property like this is around, let's say, Phoenix project that we have right now. As of 2023, you're seeing that, the average rental price is around 4 million, right? As of now, it's probably closer to 8 million, right? So you can see in 2 years, the asset prices, the asset rents, the rental income is generated from just this asset alone has grown by over 100% in just 2 years. For Yaba, you're seeing that as of 2023, a 1-bedroom is going for 800K. As of now, it's going for 1.5 million. And everyone can really testament to like the increment of rent in the last 2 years, and seeing how things have essentially shaped itself. There was a time that people were complaining on Twitter, that, my landlord is increasing rent by 50%, my landlord is increasing rent by 100%, by 20%, and the likes. And I think if you ask most people when last did the landlord increase that rent, it's probably maybe 2 years ago. So essentially, like every 2 years, some crazy people do it every year, but the expectation is that every 2 to 3 years, they essentially revalue the rental prices and adjust for that inflation. And even places like Ikate as well have also received some significant growth, by 100% growth as well. So yes, this is just Lagos numbers, and I know that we have a diverse, community in this call. But in Lagos alone, like we can see that rent is actually growing faster than income. All right. So if you're someone that is living in Lekki, Yaba, Ikate, you've already experienced the increment in the growth of what you're paying for your rent. But when you compare that to your income, it has not grown. I don't know if anyone's income has grown by 100% in the last 2 years or 80% in the last 2 years. So you want a situation whereby you're on the receiving end of that, and you're able to say, okay, my property income has generated this and it has grown by this. So I'm able to keep up with the growth of the inflation that is going on right now. So what are we seeing generally? You're seeing that as rental prices increase, and I was speaking to someone that used to rent apartments in, I think Lekki Phase 1, and they increased the rent, and obviously he now moved to, I think he moved to Aja, right? Or some people from Lekki Phase 1, they move back to Yaba, they move, go to Oba, go to Magodo. So you're seeing that even, and when they move, let's say they move to Yaba, for example, prices in Yaba increase, but they're able to manage it because it's not comparable to what they're seeing in Lekki Phase 1. And people in Yaba are like, well, why is the price increasing like this? So they tend to find other smaller, more rent, will I say, affordable rental places that they can be able to, keep up with. Now, what is happening with occupancy rates, and what type of properties are we seeing? So far, when we talk about occupancy rates, you're just looking at in a whole year compared to in a whole year, how many times is the apartment being booked compared to the overall times of the year. So if you're saying that, okay, we have 365 days in a year, how many times in that year is it currently being booked? Is it 70% of the time? Is it 20% of the time? And what we are seeing is for a 3-bedroom apartment, right? Apartments are essentially, the average range is between 50 to 60%. For 2-bedroom apartments, is between 60 to 70%. And for 1-bedroom apartments, between 70 to 80%, which means that if you notice why some apartments have, especially in certain places that have some level of, let's say Yaba has a cluster of human beings all gathered together because of the university, because of the office spaces, you tend to see more of 1-bedrooms and 2-bedrooms and less of 3-bedrooms. Whereas as people start gravitating towards areas where, more family conscious areas, you start seeing more 2-bedrooms and 3-bedrooms. So it's a given that obviously smaller units perform more than the larger apartments, and I think there should be more room for smaller units as well, and that should be consistent across board, right? And I think I was speaking to some of our co-founders, and we were saying that, okay, it would be nice to have more studios and more 1-bedrooms, because a lot of people need affordable housing. And if you're able to produce that at scale, you're able to push the market towards a direction, and people are able to, live in a really good space, in a much more affordable space, and a much more sustainable space as well. So yes, all of these are shifting the curve and the occupancy and how much you can actually generate on a year-by-year basis. Now, most people don't end up with bad properties because they're careless. So most people actually do a lot of due diligence. Like today we went out with a client's lawyer, and the lawyer had requested for all of the details, and they were able to look at the project and see which one suits them. The lawyer is going to do his job. The client is going to do their own due diligence, right? And we see them ask some, it's not wrong questions, but it might not be the right question to ask. And our job is to answer those questions ahead of time, right? So they will always say that, is it a fine place, right? They will always say, is the area popular, right? They will always say, where is the area? What are the landmarks around the area? They always say, what are the people like? Will the people like it? So it's like a situation of, okay, it's a lot more, is it less analytical way of looking at properties, because people tend to look at properties in a lot more emotional way. Most people that sell properties or buy properties, You buy it in a very emotional way, or it's just property. Um, or questions like, okay, why is the place far? Right? Or the place is far, and that's the only reason you use to say, okay, this property is not a good property, right? But there are better ways to actually look at properties. There are other ways that you can explore, and you can figure out, like, is this the right place to go by, or is this, yeah, is this a good place? Is this suitable for me, right? And questions like, okay, what's driving demand? Like, why are we even here? Like, why does Keble even decide to push this property in this location? Why does this place matter? And I think we don't spend a lot of time asking that question, like, why? Like, what is driving this, right? The second thing, okay, what does growth look like? So there are areas where you see the consistent growth in the last 5 years. Obviously, you know that over time the growth stabilizes. But it's an important question to ask, like, okay, what does rental growth look like? What does capital growth look like, right? I think most people ask what's the entry price, because obviously they are paying for it. So how much does it cost today? And what's the occupancy rate? Like, what are in a year, what's the likelihood of me, even if I'm not using shortlet, but if I put it up on normal rental apartments and I'm getting paid, like, how quickly can I get it closed out, right? Now, what of expenses? What happens to expenses, especially for people that are managing apartments? What is the cost implication of this, right? So if you're able to ask better questions, you're able to find better answers, right? If you do not ask better questions, you would get mediocre answers, right? So you will get answers that fit your narrative. And this is something that, even if you're not buying properties, with Keble, you should be able to ask someone this question so that they're able to answer. And if they cannot answer it, you shouldn't buy. It's a very simple thing. Like, if someone cannot tell you what's driving this demand, if someone cannot tell you what the growth rate is, if someone cannot tell you what the entry price is, if someone cannot tell you what the expenses are going to look like, you're making a big mistake, right? So a lot of people always fixate on, with people like, is the area popular, landmarks around the area, and they really forget about these fundamental questions, right? So a rental property only performs when a few of these key factors all come together. So it's not one or the other. It's a situation whereby all the factors are synchronized in a beautiful melody, and you can see it in real time. So you want a situation whereby, one, you can see the real demand. Like, you can understand why this place is suit. You can I don't know how strongly, but for most of the properties on Keble, we can identify this is a real demand. Like, if we push it out today, it is closed today, right? You can understand, okay, this is how income is being generated, and this is exactly what you're going to get at the end of the day, right? Ahead of time, you can understand the cost implication of it. So what is power going to look like? What does maintenance look like? What does security look like? What are commissions look like? And if you do not handle this properly, there are so many shortlets right now that are not being booked. There's so many shortlets right now that are being closed out. Right? No one is making money for it. A lot of people have opened shortlet apartments and converted it to normal rental and called it a day, right? So it's a function of, you have to figure out, like, this is the amalgamation of every single factor that keys into the property value, right? And you want to make sure that all of these things are baked in properly, right? So yes. Now, we're in the test arena. So this is the, so to speak, the practical side of the conversation, right? Now, we have this paycheck test, right? So before you buy any rental property, you rate it based on certain criteria. So the first thing is, what's the demand engine? Why would people stay here? Does this place matter, right, to people? What is driving that demand to that location? Are there one or two things? Or is there, two or three things? Are there five things happening? So in case one falls off, you have four things that are holding it back or holding it up. What's the rent reality today? Like, how much, if you wanted to rent it, worst case scenario? Like, if you wanted to say, do you know what, I want to break even. If I want to break even in this property, I don't want to make money in the first year. I just want to make sure that, I recoup I can pay for running the lights, right? How much would that cost, right? And that's why I think earlier on we always show you what the base rates in terms of our projections. You see the worst case scenario, you see the base case scenario, you see the worst case scenario, and the best case scenario, right? And you're able to understand, okay, why we are doing it, because we want to be realistic about, our expectations at the end of the day, right? Um, what's the cost looking like? What's the cost implication looking like? Um, who is running this, right? Is it someone that has experience in running apartments? And what does exit strategy look like? So exit strategy or exit clarity is just saying that, okay, yes, I'm going to own this for a couple of years, I'm going to sell it, or I'm going to own this for life and I'm going to transfer it to my kids, or I'm going to put this in a trust, right? These are multiple ways that you want to think clearly about how the exit will look like at the end of the day, right? So we're going to have the first case study. So we're looking at a couple of units on the platform, right? We're going to look at island properties first. We're going to take a test and see what you guys feel about it. And we're going to then do, mainland property second and see what you guys think about it. I hope that's okay. Let me see if everybody is still here. Oh, good. Is everybody still here with me? Thumbs up. Fantastic. Good. So we have two popular ones. I'm sure if you're familiar with some of the offerings, you probably know about Phoenix and Declan, right? And we're going to just look at Phoenix at a glance, and we're going to look at Declan at a glance, just quickly, and we'll take the practical side of it, right? So you guys I want to be sure that everybody is a professional by the end of today, right? So this is Phoenix, right? Phoenix is at Freedom Way, right? The expectation is that Phoenix is under construction. Certificate of occupancy is there. We have 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms apartments, and they have 2 structures in place on the platform. So there is a co-ownership structure and there is a sole ownership structure, right? For co-ownership, you can actually own it with as little as 262,000 every single month for 12 months, or we can make an outright payment of 3 million. I think the 1 bedroom has been sold off, so we just have 3 bedrooms right now, and you can extend it to, if you have 6 months plan. I think we also have a 12 months plan as well. But as much as you can, the whole idea is that it's en suite. So the apartment is fully furnished. You literally just move your items inside. So it's a very turnkey kind of experience. Now, why Phoenix location works. So Phoenix is built around Freedom Way, one of the strongest lifestyle and commercial corridors in Lekki Phase 1. The property is positioned near VS Global, iFitness, the Dome. So major hubs, right? It's a very vibrant location. One of the things I want to note for Phoenix is that it's in a location that has already proven its worth, right? It's a very predictable market. You already know what you're getting when you get into that market. So it's not something that you are speculating. I keep telling people that, oh, it's different from when you're buying maybe someplace in Ekpe, right? There's a lot of speculation that happens. You're essentially saying that, oh, development will come here. You're speculating that, oh, okay, because of the refinery, when people are saying, okay, the refinery is coming, refinery is already there now, and asset prices, I can see Ibejleki land that used to go for 5 million now. I think just 5 years ago, it's not even long. Ibejleki land that used to go for 5 million. You can't even find Ibejleki land now, and some people are telling you 30 million, or land telling you 30 million at the moment. So it's insane, right? However, that is a speculative side, and there is room for that, right? There is room to have that as your way to actually identify which asset makes sense. That's not what Phoenix does. Phoenix is already in a proven location, so there's nothing speculative around it. It's a very stable market. So if you're someone that's looking for some level of stability, like gradual growth in modest growth in returns, you're seeing that, okay, in a year I can get capital appreciation, because it's a closed knit, obviously the pressure points actually forces it out. So you're seeing that it's obviously located in, commercial hubs, vibrant hubs around. So the pressure is there on its own. However, like the growth is more of a stable growth. It's more for people that want some level of consistency. There's some upside there that makes sense. So I call it a very mature market on its own, right? For nightly rates this is for a 1 bedroom apartment, you're looking at 100,000 every single night. We typically target between 60 to 70% occupancy rate. So you know that your gross is around 25 million. We remit 15 million to customers across board, right? So on average, a customer is meant to generate roughly 300 to 450,000 on a yearly basis, right? And annual yield is roughly around 10%, which is base. So this is our base rates, right? Obviously, there are some months that would, nightly rates can go as high as 120 to 150. Those nights do exist, right? But they don't happen every day. In fact, there are some nights. The whole aim, one of the things I keep saying is for all of the apartments that we manage is that we want to have consistent bookings, right? And to make sure that they are consistent bookings, you want to have something known as dynamic pricing. So your prices fluctuate throughout the year. So 100K can be 100K throughout the year. Sometimes it's going to be 80K, right? And sometimes it's going to be 150K. But you want to be consistent with fluctuating the prices throughout the year so that you can maximize your income properly. Yeah. So how is Phoenix managed? So Phoenix is fully managed by Keble. The goal is that you essentially earn from shortlet payments, and we provide quarterly reports of each of the assets, right? Every slot owner has a complimentary night stay, and the goal is for you to own the property for life, right? However, you can decide to sell it off if you choose to. So that is a given. I hope that's clear for everybody. We're going into, okay, fantastic. I can see everybody. Good. We're going into Declan, right? So after Declan, we'll do one practical session, and I'm sure the team will send the link. Then we'll now move to mainland, talk about the mainland asset, then do one other practical session so everybody's carried along. So now we're in Declan, right? I think Declan, we started, I think is in how many floors now? Probably in the 3rd or 4th floor now. So it's going really well. Congratulations to everyone that participated in Declan. The price is still, in fact, the price that we have on the platform should be updated. It's way higher than this at this point in time, right? Way higher than this. So people that bought in early, they're already in green at this point. This one has 50 slots. Entry price is this. It should be ready by August 2026. So it's going really well. I like the pace of Declan. Declan numbers is to a 2-bedroom apartment. The gross income is over 38 million. And per slots, the asset is essentially generating between 440 to 600,000 per year. So the yield is actually really good, like 15% every single year. This is for the first year numbers. So why Declan? The reason why we picked Declan is just one, their convergence. So we're seeing Lekki phase 1, and Aja sits in the middle, right? We're also seeing that it's still in the developing side. So a lot of things, it's still in a proven, it's a market that is still trying to prove itself. It's still, heavy construction is still ongoing there as well. So you're seeing that growth is still coming up, right, in that axis, which makes it possible for you to get some really good upsides over the next couple of years, right, which is important. Obviously, proximity to Lekki phase 1, there are hubs there. I noticed someone mentioning to me that, okay, Lekki phase 1 is quite expensive, but Ikate seems to be a really good alternative for the person, right, because the person works in VI. So a lot of people are still, they might not go as far as Aja. They might just go to Ikate and just, it might be easier to just stay there and, be able to maintain good commute to their workplace. Same thing, Keble is fully managed by Keble. Sorry, Declan is still managed by Keble. And again, it comes fully furnished. I tell people that everything, once you make payments for any of this apartment, that's the only payment you're ever going to make. So we bake in every single thing that it needs to make sure that the apartment is fully furnished, is ready to go with our insurance partners, making sure that everything is sorted out for you. And you don't have to deal with tenants, and Keble handles all of that. Yeah. This is the activity session, right? I want us to focus on one thing. There is a link that will be sent now to the chat. Let's check in if okay. So essentially a test, and the goal is for you to essentially understand all the things that we've mentioned, the paycheck test, all the things that we've mentioned now, and you're going to look through, you're going to essentially rate based on the conversation that we've had so far for Declan and for Phoenix, right? It's a very simple, it probably takes you less than 2 minutes, but it will give you a score. Once you get your score, just type it on the chat that, okay, this is my score, this is my score, this is my score. And we can have a conversation around that. We can just give roughly 2-3 minutes, okay, for everybody to get it sorted. Francis, is that a good number of? I just want to be sure that 2 minutes is good. Okay, so we can do 3 minutes. Just very easy, like click, 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 and you're done. You get your results, and you're good to go. So, Francis, share the link again so that everybody. I'm seeing that someone seeing a lot of note takers. So share the link again so that everybody knows what link to use. And I'll move to the next one once I'm sure that you've gotten your results. There's a couple of people I've gotten. I can get like 2 or 3 people that have gotten their results. Nice. Okay. Toby, I see you. Declan 22, Phoenix 21. Okay. Nice. Sorry, saying Declan all the way. Okay. 23 for Phoenix and 22 for Declan. Interesting. Okay. Okay. I'm seeing 23 for Declan, 25 for Phoenix. Interesting. Michael, I think you see 20. Your own is 25. I'm wondering for which one? Which one is 25? It's going to be Declan. Does anyone want to talk about? I think we just allow one person. Does anyone want to talk about what they learned from just the rating and what they think so far? Right. I'll just allow maybe one person to give like their own take on it. Okay, let me allow Toby to come up. Hey Toby, how you doing?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm good.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, some of the questions are quite similar, so I would choose the same scores for both. For example, the management aspect of it, right? Since both of them are being managed by Keble, I wouldn't expect the score to be different. I think the rent projection, where it's talking more about the rent reality, and I mean, I've been seeing a lot of anecdotal evidences online about how a lot of people are already cutting their budget and moving away from Lekki Phase 1 to like Ikate and things like that, just because Lekki Phase 1 is obviously becoming unsustainable, expensive for folks. So, right, there's a lot of demand that's going to go towards the Ikate axis, also with the Coastal Road and things like that. So, I just feel like there's a lot of potential with not just the cash flow that you get, but also capital appreciation in future as well. Particularly for Phoenix apartment.
Yeah, makes sense. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I think yes, it leans more to what we've been saying so far, which is again like variety is something interesting. Like we want you to have not just invest but understand like reasoning behind it. And I think that's a solid way of looking at the market and how the market is behaving, right? We would touch on I want to make sure that we do the next version for this thing. So we'll touch on everything again, but great work. Thank you so much, everyone that participated. I like what I see. This is nice. This is nice. Okay. If you got more, if you get more answers, or if you go through the you can still paste it. That's fine. No issues on that one. Let's look at the next section. So we're done with the activity, yeah. And I think we've learned a lot. The whole idea is to make sure that this thing is quite memorable, and whether you're looking at a deal that is internal with Keble or even external, you're able to look at it from that professional lens. Now let's look at mainland properties, right? For people that are not in Lagos or that are not familiar with Lagos, I know that I mentioned at the earliest conversation that, hey, we're diversifying into other African countries this month, and I think we'll be adding one global asset as well. So we might not just be talking about Lagos. I know people will be tired of us, but the reason why we do this is that so I think someone was saying that, are you not going to push properties in Enugu or Imo states? And my own feedback is we want to make sure that the areas that we're picking, we have consistent knowledge about the area. And we can also sort of back the demand and also back the, the rental income that's coming from that location. So everyone can easily say that, hey, in terms of Lagos, more people are going to come into Lagos by the end of the year than leave Lagos. It's just a given. That is every single person that is finishing their secondary school or that is finishing their university, when they think of, okay, where do I find the best opportunities for myself, they would come to Lagos. If I was getting crazy that other people in other African countries are thinking of coming to Lagos, right? And our job essentially is to figure out, like, how do we even spread that development across, how to get that to Abuja, how to get that to Port Harcourt, how to get that to places like Enugu. But we know that this is, going to be the hottest cake in the market. So you want to be intentional about providing the opportunities that matter. So yes, for people that have the island and for people that have the mainland offers, we have the island obviously makes sense. Then the mainland we have two offerings on the mainland. And mainland it's synonymous with there's development parts and there's the prestigious parts. So there's the highbrow areas, right? And highbrow areas are, for mainland, you could mention like Ikeja, for example, Ikeja GRA, for example, that you can easily find. Some apartments there are even comparable to apartments that you find in Ikoyi or Lekki Phase 1. So their prices almost identical when you're looking at different projects from Lagos mainland to Lagos Island. But today we're going to look at just two major properties that we have on the platform. So Buckingham at a glance, right? This has 30 slots and fully furnished one-bedroom apartments located at Alagomeji. And I keep saying that Alagomeji is VI 10 years ago, right? I was talking to a client this week, yeah. And she was mentioning that, Alagomeji seems to be developed. And I was like, no, Alagomeji looks developed, but it's still far from where it's meant to be. Right now, the amount of office spaces being built in Alagomeji, it's insane. And trust me, there is no office space that is being built around this axis that won't have businesses just packing into it, which is weird to me, but it's happening, right? And it's interesting to see that happen consistently. There's also restaurants being opened up. There are also residential apartments being opened up as well. So you're seeing this movement and this level of activity happening. You're also seeing the factor of it being at a central location. So you're seeing, and this has been, one of the benefits of Alagomeji, that you can easily go to the island from here and you can easily go to the the best parts of the mainland from here. So it's more of a central location than any other place. The other benefit is that there's the what we call the train station, right? The new commission train station that moves from Alagomeji to Ibadan to Abeokuta, right? So all of this are, well, I say, data points that you sort of look at to say, okay, why does this make sense and why is it important to pick this axis? So yes, strong location demand. We picked a 1-bedroom studio. I remember someone was asking me, why did we not pick a 2-bedroom apartment? And the reason was that, like I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, when you look at what is happening in terms of occupancy, it's not like 2 bedrooms won't do well, but 1-bedrooms and studios do way better, right? So you want to position it in a way that you're owning properties that attract way more people than other things. I was speaking to someone that owns, I think, a 1-bedroom in Lekki Phase 1. They call it the cash cow units. Like they have 2 bedrooms, which is everywhere, and they have 3 bedrooms as well. But when it comes to the 1-bedroom, they just call it cash cow unit, like it's always being closed off. So you want to position with each of the units that we pick, you want to position it in a way that can attract as much income as possible, just based on the location. So these are Buckingham numbers. 1-bedroom, you can range from 70K per night to 100K. So 70K is typically the base rate, and 100K is top tier nights. We typically look at 9 months in a year, right? And gross income ranges from 18 to 25 million. A slot generates roughly 300 to 500K every single year, right? And one of the benefits of this is that the income obviously increases per year. The value of the assets also increases as well. And you don't have to make the payment all at once. You can spread the payment as you wish. That's Buckingham in a glance, or at a glance. This is Bradford. We recently launched Bradford. Bradford Phase 1 is fully sold out. So we're currently in Bradford Phase 2. Now, why Bradford? Why is it such an interesting location? When you think of Bradford, one of the magnetic reasons for owning Bradford is it's just the one, proximity to Unilag. Is literally, you can literally walk from Unilag to this location. And I was there, I think, one Saturday morning, and I could see people just jogging on the streets. And you have a lot of young working class individuals that are situated in this axis, right? And it just made sense why they are situated there, because like you just finished Unilag, your next move will be somewhere probably close to that area. And it makes sense why this is an interesting location to have. We typically picked studio because studios in this axis, obviously the nightly rates for studios are quite smaller, and it fits what the average working class person within that axis can be able to afford, right? So we're very particular at picking studio in this place because obviously it's going to be booked throughout the year. We have only 25 slots, and you can pick. You can pay 2.9 million outright, or you can spread payment of 250K on a monthly basis. We also have a different structure. I think we launched it recently, where if you do not want to co-own, you can do so ownership structure that allows you to own with flexible payments throughout the month. We do have 6 months, but if you're interested in much more longer term payment plan, we can make that happen for you. Now, why Bradford? I think I mentioned this earlier. Very close location to Unilag, very close location to educational institutions, researchers, consultants, professionals. So I like the location. Makes a lot of sense because it has a lot of academic activity, and that spillover happens, and it essentially is very useful for you when you own something of this magnitude in this particular location. Now Frank's 2026 outlook supports this by noting that studios and one-bedroom units in mid-market areas like Yaba are expected to be rented out the fastest. So it's not guesswork. It's just something that we are fully aware that this market is, especially if we have studios in this particular location, you're able to maximize the best. Similar to what we did with Sule One Regal, we picked, in terms of why do we pick this particular location and this particular unit, is because one, it has the highest possible chance of being rented out quickly. So this is the nightly rates. This is actually below market rates. The current market rate now has gone up to 50K per night. It's almost competing with Sulere market at this point in time. But we're working with 40K. So it just shows like how we are thinking of the numbers generally. Like there are months that you will probably have 60K. In fact, if you go on Gigi now, some of the locations, apartments in this location are probably going for 60K, 45K, 50K, 55K. But we worked, this is our base rates at this point in time. And we're looking at 7% occupancy rates. Gross annual income is over 10 million, and net paid out to investors is around 6.6 million, right? In terms of yield, you're looking at an average of 10% every single year. Same thing, assets are being managed by Keble. Someone asked us, why do we manage the properties and why do we have feasibility over the properties? I think the major reason why we have that is to make sure that financially we are able to optimize to what is best for everybody. There's a lot of things that go into managing a shortlet, like cost constraints. There are situations whereby people have diesel. We don't typically go for diesel apartments, mostly solar, because you don't want to be in a situation whereby, I think diesel now is like 1,800. So, and there was a time it was 900. I can remember buying diesel for 800K. So for 800 naira, per liter. So you want to be in a situation whereby you can manage the cost and be able to optimize on the revenue so that everybody gets a really good payout at the end of the month. So we're in the next activity session. Similar to what we did in the first one, I think Francis, please share the next link. And the goal of this is just, again, for you to understand clearly, okay, this market's on the mainland, which one is performing better. You can pin it as well. What's your take on it? Obviously, I can give like 3 minutes again for everybody to be able to participate and get their takes on it. 3 minutes, so by 6:54, we should be done. So they don't have the question. I think someone wants to ask a question. Jafar?
Yes,
you have a
please.
question?
Yes, I have a question actually.
Sure.
Yesterday I was checking the app and I saw the properties on stock. I invested like 20,000, and now I introduced my friend to it, but he has an issue with his bank. Is it possible for me to pay for him, to send money for him to the Keble account? Yes or no?
No, he has to. We have to sort it out for him so that he tracks it on his own end. So what you can do is, we have someone in support. Who is in support here? Francis. Let me see.
You don't understand what I'm trying to say. He wants me to help him fund his Keble account.
He wants you to help him fund his Keble accounts.
Yes, is
He
it possible?
for himself. Yeah. If he can be able to generate his NGN account, you can send money to that account.
Okay, that's what I want to do.
Okay.
That's what I want to do for him right now. But I said I need to confirm.
That's possible.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Awesome. Thank you so much. So I think we just have 1 or 2 minutes left. Similar to what we did the other time. What's your Bradford looking like? What's your Buckingham looking like at the moment?
I'm sorry, please. Are the other investments open for the UK and other like countries, Kenya and Ghana, or no, not yet?
Not yet, not yet. They'll be open this month, definitely. So while the numbers are going, um, I hope I'm not going to murder this name. Dana Gogo. Hope I didn't murder the name. Apologies for murdering the name if I did. Can you hear me, sir? Or what's the proper pronunciation? So I can
You
actually.
actually did a good job.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. I'm very proud of myself. Lovely. What's your take? I just need your take, just a few minutes, based on Buckingham and Bradford.
I think I'm based in Port Harcourt here, so my my visualizations of these apartments are literally from
What was
your
provided to you?
expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Bradford, yeah, why I'm inclined towards that is mostly properties in and around tertiary institutions usually have good potential in terms of
Mm,
continuous patronage over time. So that's basically my inclination towards Bradford.
okay. I think that makes sense. That's a good observation. That's good. Yes. And yes, you're right. I think even the whole premise of that location is sort of built around, tertiary institutions exist here. Therefore, there is this constant demand for apartments, and that demand eventually would trickle down to assets in this location. So I think that makes sense. Um, I One of the things that we even, it's funny thing is that even that location, for example, there was a time where they had like a huge road construction happening around that axis, and everyone that had properties there faced the shock because they were still constructing the road. Right, even some businesses were not able to open properly because of that. So now that the road is completely done, um, has really good access, in and out, you'll see those businesses come back again, and it has also revitalized the location a bit more. So I think even with areas that have, and that's why I say real estate is very localized. Even with areas that have a lot of these factors coming into play, you still have constraints that you want to address. And one of the constraints that we focused early on was that, is the road accessible? Like, can people actually get to that place if they wanted to? Is transport easy? Is transportation easy to that access? So those things are quite important as you go along. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me see if someone has a question about Aviation City. Okay. I would address the question. So we are in the question and answer side of it. What did we take out of this conversation? The first thing that I want to reiterate, the earliest conversations and the earliest feedbacks that, yeah. The first thing to note is there's always a demand engine. There is always something driving it. So you want to understand that demand engine a little bit more. If, for instance, the University of Lagos decides to say, okay, we don't want to stay in this location again. I know we've been here for 100 years, but no problem. We are leaving. It really affects asset prices in that location tremendously. So you want to be sure that whatever demand engine you have is quite solid. Like, it's not something that is a fluke. It's not something that is a trend, right? You want that, okay, this is something that can be consistent over time, right? Um, Rent reality, you want to understand the rates. I think that's why we added on the Keble platform, you could see what does 5 years ago look like, what does 3 years ago look like, right? And that will give you an indication of what the future holds as well. um, Cost. Cost is very important. So we want to make sure that you manage the cost as much as possible, to make sure that you can maximize the profit at the end of the day. So a lot of things that are excesses tend to be reduced when you have capable hands running it, and this spills over to what is the management looking like, right? Property management is I feel like it should be studied in, like, there should be courses for property managers. Like, people should go to, an institution, get a license for it, and then start running property, because most people do not. With property management, you have to understand customer service, you have to understand accounting, so a lot of things come into play when you're managing properties. And most people, they just outsource it to their nephew or their cousin, you know, and that person might not even have the right expertise to actually run a property properly. And the last thing is clarity on exit. So with all of these options available, there is the understanding that you can sell at any time. And there's also something I always note, which is we typically are open to people buying everything. But obviously 70% of co-owners have to agree. So we can't just sell the whole apartments off the nose of everybody. So 7% of people, once you guys agree, then we can initiate a sale on behalf of you guys. So these are the key things that makes an apartment worth buying, right? Especially in 2026, right? So we're going to be looking at all the apartments with this lens. So if you're looking at property in Dubai, if you're doing a property in Kenya, if you're looking at property in Ghana, right? This will be the lens in which we would use to assess all these options and be able to make proper decisions going forward, right? And I think that is quite important. So this is something that will keep recurring as we go along. I know we have newer people here. We typically used to have real estate investment tests, risk assessment tests. We might not have it today, but maybe in the next one, we'll probably have it so that everybody knows their risk assessments. And it just allows you to know what assets to pick based on what level you are in your risk profile. Yes, Toby.
Yeah, so I think my question is more overarching, which is most of these projections that we have, are they just estimates, or do we have any of those properties that is already generating live returns that we can benchmark?
Yes. So most of these properties are essentially estimates, but they're estimates on live properties, if that makes sense. So for instance, they're comparable estimates. So because the projects like Phoenix is still under construction, Declan is still under construction and the likes, but you can essentially look next door or to the next streets to identify how much are they paying rent, in like how much is the rent in this property, in this location. So what we do is that for properties that aren't yet introduced into the market yet, we look at comparable prices next door. So you want to ask, okay, with the property manager in property A, how is rent going here? And he'll tell you, like, there's a project we were doing, I think in Aja, for instance, and as the client wanted to buy it, I was like, okay, they're already shortlets here. Let me ask who the property manager is, and he can essentially tell me um, how much does he make every single month, and how many customers does he get, and what are the likely avenues that he uses to get customers. Because even with every apartment, someone can be saying that, oh, he only gets his customers from Airbnb, and someone can be saying that I never even bothered looking at Airbnb, and they're all getting their customers from agents. So you want a situation whereby you even understand the market and even how they make money. And that's what we usually benchmark, some of our baseline on. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. Awesome. Phoebe, you have a question?
Okay, sorry. I was trying to unmute myself.
No, that's fine.
um, please, my question is actually a bit about the aviation city.
Sure, sure.
Please, can you shed more light because I am interested in that, but there are some things I don't understand. Like, what is the exit plan? Am I supposed to like buy the place? Is it for a residential? Is it for commercial? Can I sell it off when I am no longer interested? I just want to know like more. I saw the listing, but I don't have more information.
You see, this is the beauty of committee sessions like this because you start asking really nice questions like, what is the exit plan? And it gives me so much joy, you know. So, yes, lovely question. Um, Now, what's the property? So, the property is a landed asset, right? And with most landed assets, there are a couple of things you can do with landed assets, right? You There's the buy and hold strategy, whereby you essentially your goal is to buy it at a very affordable rate, and with the inclination that okay, at some point in time, typically within 5 to 10 years, I can resell it. And that is typically how buy and hold structures work. And the estate is a combination of three things. So you have the residential, the commercial, and the industrial. What is available right now is the residential side of the estate. Why are we not pushing out industrial and why are we not pushing out the commercial side? Because you cannot really do much on that commercial side as of today because they buy and hold, right? Um, you cannot do much on the industrial side because it's a buy and hold. Most people, when you want to buy something on the industrial side, I would advise that you already have some level of capital. So if someone meets me or meets anyone in the team and they want to do something at large scale, when they at a larger scale and they want to do something industrial, they need to have their capital locked in. That conversation needs to be happening, and they need to say, okay, within the next 3 years, this is what I want to do in this axis, and this makes sense. But for everybody, everyone that wants to just own land in a very prime location, residential sort of makes sense because you know that no matter what happens, someone is going to live there. Someone is going to construct something there. So I think that's valuable one. So in terms of your exit strategy, the way you should look at it is this is an avenue for me to buy into a landed asset, and typically the sales cycle in terms of you want to maximize it. If you want something that will give you it's compounding. The compounding rate is typically around 30% year on year. So if you want something that will give you're buying it at, I don't even know the price now. I think it's at 1.3 ish at this point. So if you're buying at 1.3, you have an exit goal of let's say 5 to 10 million. That typically happens within a 5 to 10 year cycle, right? So that's how the math works on that front. For the flexibility in terms of how you pay for it, there is obviously the outright price and there is the monthly price. We do not have down payments on Keble, so you just pick the monthly price and that's it. We do not also most developers will say, okay, there is a what they call it. There is a purchase price, then there is now documentation price, there is now survey. That typically is bundled up together. So what you're paying is what you're paying, and you know that okay, you can plan financially for it on your own end. Then I think the last thing to note is we do have a property there's a ownership property, I think Cardiff Polo, that we just pushed as well. That one is more of a buy to construct. So there is Keble is managing the construction of that because it's co-owned by a lot of people. I think there are 50 slots at the moment. So it's co-owned and Keble manages that exit actively. We play an active role in it. However, if you want to sell off your portion or you want to sell off, let's say your land in Aviation City, the best way to sell it is actually through Keble. I think that's the easiest way to manage that sale. That okay, I've bought it through this platform. Keble can actually help me to resell it because most people they always think of It's always easy to buy land. It's always very difficult to sell it at that point. So imagine if you have a life partner that allows you to resell it on your behalf. That's actually quite valuable. So yes, I hope that answers all your questions. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. But the thing is, if I buy the plots, is there like a building structure? Is it going to be the same? It says estates, and most of the estates, like I'm based in Abuja, and then they give
Yeah.
you a building plan. Is it something like that, or I don't know?
So typically what they will give you is a deed of assignment. They would also You will also be provided with a layout, so pinpoint, okay, this is the portion of the land that belongs to me, right? And the deed of assignment is essentially stating that, okay, Phoebe owns this property, right? And you'll be allocated towards the residential access, right? So that is one. Now, if you want to build on it, you would have to obviously build on that on your own end. But for estates, they typically give you an estate plan. So you have an idea of what is the likely thing that I'm meant to build in this location. But from what I can see in the estate as of today, the goal essentially is more of a land banking, seize opportunity in this particular location and hold on to that land over the next period of time. Yeah. Hope that makes sense. Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions? Any other questions? Awesome. So if you're not in the community, we typically have a community that breaks down a lot of these things in detail, right? You should get a link in the chat that will give you access to the community you can join. If you're interested in looking through some of our offerings, please, you can reach out to us on the platform. I think you can share the link as well for the platform so that people can get access to the property. If you want a one-on-one consultation, you can make a booking. If you want a one-on-one conversation, please indicate right now so that we'll be able to reach out to you via email and see how we can maybe, if you're interested in a particular property, walk you through it, make sure that you're open to the option. We can help you facilitate that on the go. If you have additional questions, please let me know as well. Yeah, someone asks, no CFO. Not all properties have CFO. We do have properties. I think Cardiff City has CFO. Cardiff Polo has CFO. Ayomide is CFO in view, so they're processing that at the moment. So that would typically have CFO as well. So this is the price before CFO. So if you want to lock it in, fantastic. We had a property called District. For people that remember District, the property was didn't have CFO when we listed it out. It was still processing, and it was going for 800K. And by the end of the year, when the CFO was done, every single person that bought into an 800K property, the property was now valued at 2 million, right? So just because like CFO is being processed, it just changes the entire thing of the estate. So it's very lovely to own it. We do our own due diligence to make sure that the assets are in good title and in good form. Most of our residential properties that actively houses residents, and we are doing rental income from it. All of them have CFO, and all of them have the right building plans to make sure that there are no issues on that land. Okay, so you can email us. Then you would like a one-on-one. Okay, Toby. Okay, Toby wants a one-on-one, so let's note that, and we'll be able to book that for you. Thank you very much. Okay, fantastic. I wanted to keep to time to make sure that everybody has enjoy your weekend and have fun. You can follow us on Instagram. We do have a lot of educational content there. Follow us on Twitter. We have a ton of educational content as well, so that you can just keep up with the updates that we have and the offerings that we're providing for you. Again, if you need one-on-one, please mention it now so that we can schedule it for the week, and you have access to someone that'll be able to break things down for you. Yes, all of them. TG, yes. Awesome. So thank you, everybody. Do have a lovely weekend. Take care of yourselves and have a lovely time. Take care, guys. See you next time. Thank you so much for the time. Thank you so much. Thank you.